I'm Theodore Leaf here at the Sally Hirschberger Salon in Los Angeles, California. Hair color is a big part of any salon's business. I want to show you how you can take the ombre trend, turn it up a notch. I'm calling it Ombre 2.0. In this installment of turning trends into money, we're going to show you how to do it right now. All right, I've got my gorgeous model Anna Maria here, and we're gonna give her a fabulous hair color. She is a natural level 5 and all natural hair color. I know, I'm excited too. All natural hair color. When does that happen? Never. So what's great about that is we can do a lot of different things. Obviously, hair color is a big ticket item in hair salons, and it keeps clients coming more and more and more. We're gonna give her a really modern ombre. And what that means to me is it's not just dark to light, which is, you know, it's been done, we've seen it, it's great. What I love about that is it gets people understanding that having a little bit of root is okay, but to make it modern, I'm gonna add a really nice bright face framing right here, and then more of an ombre technique towards the back part. And what I'm gonna do with that is look at the hair and add light where I really think it needs to happen. This is gonna make it look so much more natural. It's not gonna be very high maintenance, but trust me, she'll be coming back for that face framing real quick. I'm all set. Got all my colors planned out here. And the first thing I'm gonna do is use my 8-level hair color with 30 volume. Brunettes typically had stayed away from highlights over the years because they didn't want to look too done. But with ombre, it can look natural and feel natural. All right, we're gonna get started on her front left side. Since this is a face frame, I'm gonna take a very small section. What I like to do is it diagonal down from her hairline to the top of her ear pretty much. I'm just gonna clip that out of the way. Now to start this out, I'm just gonna do a very fine weave. And when I say fine, I mean really fine. Separate the hair. Now, instead of making a bunch of different sizes of foils, I just choose to fold it for the size that I need. So I'm just gonna fold this in half because I need a smaller foil. I'm gonna park that right at the root. Make sure your foil is nice and even. And then just apply your color. Making sure to saturate the ends. You don't want to spin it too much. You want to make sure it's nice and even. You also don't want to oversaturate it so that the foil gets too heavy. Now I'm going to close that packet. Now because this is a color rather than a lightener or a bleach, it's not gonna travel as much or expand. All right, so the next section, I'm gonna leave that out and skip that. You don't wanna pack these foils in too tight. You want it to be very subtle. So I basically skip a section, and a section is gonna be about 1/2 inch. Now what I like to do when I'm foiling is when you're looking at it sort of face value, it's really hard to understand exactly how much hair's in there. So if ever I wonder, I just split it in half and then open it up. And then I can literally see, okay, that's about 1/2 inch and that's about 1/2 inch. So that's 2 sections. Now I can take a subsection, and if I ever need to know how big that is, I can split that and you can see how much smaller or bigger that is. So I'm just gonna grab a small amount there, nice and clean. And just do a nice soft weave. Again, I'm just folding this foil completely in half because I need it to be shorter. And she has a bunch of little hairs, so I'm just making sure that those get incorporated into my section as well. Now the reason that I'm not keeping these foils very long is because I need them to not be too heavy. I don't want them to move. And just use the end of the comb to create a nice clean packet. This is gonna be my last foil on this side because this face frame is gonna be really subtle. Okay, so the way that I determine how many foils to put in is all based on the hair density, and her hair's pretty fine, so I'm actually not gonna add too many because each foil really is gonna add a lot of color. Now, if you had somebody with a lot thicker hair, you could use a thicker weaving technique and more foils, just to make the impact that much better. Doing the same technique on the opposite side. And with this, I like to balance the foils. So if I have 3 on one side, I'm gonna do 3 on the other, just to create a nice symmetry. And again, that just depends on the person's hair texture. My model, Anna Maria, has a finer hair texture, so I'm just making sure to keep the color nice and balanced, not do too much. Once the sides are in, I like to drop the top section. And that's really important to me because what I love about foil is that you can then see the reflection underneath. And you can tell that if you look at her hair, you can see through it. She doesn't have a lot of hair. So I'm really only gonna add like 2 foils to create that face framing dimension. Otherwise, it'll all just disappear, that dimension will be gone. So I look at the hair, and then I determine my next move. And if somebody has really short hairs, you just want to go a little further back and find those longer hairs. So if she had all the same length right in the front, I would have made my foil right at the hairline. But because she has these little bits that drop out, what I do is gather it in a section, let those bits drop out. Perfect. And now I can tell where I want to start. And just a really fine weave. Now, what I'm doing is I've created this section up here. And it's very, very important that you're always seeing how does the hair fall, because that is how I'm determining where I'm putting the color. Because I can see the foil underneath, I realize that I'm still gonna have her root. This is where you get the ombre effect. Now, adding in the face framing is gonna put color at her root, but I don't wanna put it on the top here where she's gonna see a very obvious regrowth. So I'm just gonna take one more section. We're basically working in a triangle. And add that face framing. Anything deeper than this, I would never consider a face frame. I love this look because you're taking the trend of ombre and really turning it up a notch and making it appropriate for clients that want to feel a little more put together than traditional ombre, but they like the technique. So you're giving them the face framing, the part that makes them feel fresh, but you're also keeping them modern and on trend by adding the lightness at the ends. Now I'm gonna drop this section, and this is perfect because it's gonna really blend the rest of the color. So I'm just gonna do the same thing on the opposite side of the head. Again, taking that same section right at the hairline, letting any small hairs fall out. I swear the end of a rat tail comb is just your best friend sometimes, right? And just a very fine weave. Now I've planned this entire hair color out based on timing. What we're putting in right now is obviously the 8-level hair color, which, because it's not bleach, it's gonna stop processing at an 8 level. And that's gonna process for about 35 minutes. And the lightener that we're gonna put in the rest of the foil obviously processes based on the way that it raises. So because her hair is natural and it's a level 5, I see it getting to my desired result, which is like a caramel level 7, quite quickly. So by the time everything is processed, she'll be ready to rinse her entire head. Same thing as I was doing on the opposite side, dropping the hair, seeing what I can see through the foil. I've got room for one more little face framer. So what you can see is that there's a balance of hair falling over the foil, and that's what's gonna really make this face frame work. There's about the same amount of hair falling over the front on one side and the other. Now the fun part, our traditional foiling is done. Now I get to open things up a bit, not have to be so specific. I'm gonna create a section about 1.5 to 2 inches on the bottom, say 2 inches, based on the density of the hair. I like to step away from the hair, look at the ends. Maybe if the sun has lightened different parts of it, I'll pick that up and enhance it. Or if she's not been in the sun at all and I just wanna create that effect, I can just choose where I want it. And I'm gonna start here on the end. I'm gonna create another section about 2 inches. So you've got your horizontal section and then your vertical section. So I'm taking a vertical section about 1 inch, and this is where we get crazy. I'm actually gonna do a light tease. And the reason I'm doing that is when I push this hair up, it's gonna release some of the hair from the end because I'm actually gonna apply the lightener from the mid shaft to the end. So the less amount of hair that's in that end, the more subtle it's gonna be. Now I'm going to take a foil and I'll hold the mid shaft with my thumb. I'm gonna apply my 20 volume lightener or bleach, nice and even on the mid shaft and ends of the hair. I've got my first section done on the bottom. Now what I like to do is, again, step away from my work and just notice where I'd like to see some lightness. I kind of bricklay it, so if I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 foils, I'll only do 3 up here. I don't want to add too much color because, again, I want that dimension. I want these to pop. So I'm just going to grab a little bit right here, just do that light tease. It's almost just, sometimes it's just strands of hair. And I'm gonna apply my 20 volume bleach right to that foil, nice and clean, nice clean application. What's so great about this technique is the end is diffused. And what does that mean? It means that it's not a straight line, it's very soft. So you can go in with 20 volume lightener on a brunette and end up with something that's a very beautiful, soft caramel. And what I love about this is it's 20 volumes, so this is not some high damaging, color put into a foil packet. And then I'm just working back up the head. What's great about this, again, is there's no pattern. You're just looking at the hair and adding light where you want it. You really don't want to add too much because it's just as important what you leave out of the foil as what you put in the foil. So I'm gonna step away, I'm gonna look at that. I definitely wanna add a piece here. This is moving along quite quickly. I love this technique because it's very efficient and you can just pop a few highlights in. It doesn't have to be a big production. You can just really add a nice amount of light very quickly. And it's important because everything is timed. So I have a timer on my 35-minute color processing. I'm watching the foils that are all in bleach, and then we're gonna add something at the end that I'm also gonna visually check. Again, stepping away from the head, looking at the hair, like right there would be a lovely spot for a nice highlight. I love it because I can start in the center, I can start on the side. It doesn't really matter with this. You're just adding all that beautiful light where you want it to be. What's great about this is you don't have to touch this up for several haircuts, but the face frame will definitely keep your client coming back for more. And to touch it up, you just do the same technique. Another thing that I do to really keep myself on task when I'm doing color techniques like this is I pre-count my foils. I can almost tell by looking at a head at this point how many foils it's gonna take, and I only put that amount of foil on my tray so that when I'm getting near the end of the foils, I know it's time to back off. All right, now this is my final section. Now these sections are nice, big, healthy sections because you really wanna make sure that when you drop that hair, it's covering some of that foil so that you can understand how much color you're actually putting in the hair. So same thing, I'm just pulling up strands, seeing where I wanna add the color, and using the same technique. And I'm not teasing it very tightly so that it's hard to get out. What I do to rinse this out is I rinse it and then I add conditioner and just comb it through at the bowl. One of the best ways to market hair color is using pictures. I love having inspiration books around. I think that talking about color can be kind of difficult for some people, especially clients. They get nervous, they use the wrong words, they don't know the terms. And so I'll just show people pictures and I'll say, oh, see how it's really light on the edges, but she has that beautiful face frame around the front. Use words that they understand and pictures that they want to replicate. So I'm just gonna do one more foil up here. This will be the last one with this technique. Oh, and it's the last foil. What did I tell you? Pre-count your foils to make sure that you don't overdo it. So all of her foils are in, and now I'm gonna do my final technique. I know, you're like, Theodore, you've got the face frame, you've got the little sunshine in the back. What more could you do? What I'm gonna do is actually mix a little bit of a balayage formula. And that's gonna be your standard lightener with 40 volume. I'm using 40 volume because I'm not using foil, and it's not gonna be on the hair very long. So I need it to process quite quickly, and I also need to work fast. So what I'm doing is I'm mixing the lightener with a brush, not a whisk. Now, what I'm doing is I'm creating a consistency that's almost like yogurt, and I'm creating a nice clean film. So what I have is sort of a bay of lightener here, then I have a nice clean film on the outer edge. So I take another brush that's really clean. You don't want it to have any splayed out bristles, you want it to be nice and fresh. And I drag it on that clean surface. What that does is it creates a nice clean line. Now I'm going to sweep it onto the edge of the hair. So I'll take a piece of hair that's not in foil, I'll hold it out with my thumb and my index finger, and I'm gonna sweep this onto the hair. Now you're not pressing the lightener into the hair, you're laying it on top. I'm doing the mid shaft to the ends, and I'm just gonna pick up little flicks of hair around her head. And what this is gonna do is add another layer of lightness. It's gonna break it up, give it a nice dimension. It's very artistic and natural. You look at the hair, you see where you wanna add light, you add the light, and then process it, and the clients love it. And you don't need to use foil, you don't need to use cotton. And now what I do, now that my line is all messed up, I clean that up again in the tray, and then I keep a nice clean line on the brush, pick up a piece of hair, and do it again. What I love about this technique is it's just so visual. You just look at the hair and add a little bit of lightness. All the hair that's hanging out doesn't have any color on it. So the hair is either teased, or it's in foil, or it's just hanging out. So these little bits that are just hanging out, I'm just giving a little extra kiss of sun. In the salon, I like to charge a la carte. So each service has its own price. Now, obviously, if you get more than one thing, I'll give you a little kickback. Sometimes I'll look at someone's hair and say, okay, to give you what you want, it's gonna cost X. If they like for me to break it down, I can. You're gonna get a base color with a highlight. You're gonna get a base color with a highlight and a gloss. For her, she's getting a face frame, a balayage highlight, and an ombre highlight. All right, I'm just finishing up with this little balayage technique right around the face, and I'm gonna let her process. I'm not gonna really use heat here because I have the 20 volume lightener in a foil. I don't need heat for my 8 level with the 20 volume because it's been processing to the appropriate time. And I'm not looking for these to be very blonde. I just want them to lift the color enough to create a soft caramel. So what's great about this is it's all timed appropriately to where it'll all rinse out at once. Now, if you have a client and you're not seeing a lot of movement, you can absolutely put a little plastic around this and put them under a dryer for a few minutes. I personally think that dryers are overused, and I like to let things process naturally when possible. So I can't wait to show you guys the end result. I've shampooed and conditioned my client, and now it's time to reveal her new hair color. I always start in the front so they can see what's gonna happen. If you want more tips for blow drying, absolutely check out my video, Theodore Leaf's Best Blow Dry on the Balayage Education Network. I'm just gonna section that front out, and then I also save some time by sectioning the bottom as well. Just use my chopstick here. You can use clips, whatever you're comfortable with. All right, her blow dry is all finished. We just did a little extra styling to make sure that she looks fantastic. I love, love, love the end result. Look at the beautiful face frame highlights. Really looks fantastic. I love they're right to the root, so it just really pops everything up, brightens her eyes. Look at her beautiful light eyes. I just think it really makes a big difference. And also too, you can notice with the ombre is you can take the tip of any one of the colors where we added all that beautiful dimension, and then you put it on the root, and you can see the difference is major. So this is where we added the color right here, and this is her natural. So you can really notice the difference. Now obviously, like an old highlight, you would do that on the root, and it's very, very, very bold. But when you put it on the ends, it's much more subtle. It's much easier to deal with as far as maintenance goes. But again, we added the face frame to make it a little more high maintenance. The way this is gonna make you money is you're gonna offer something that you haven't really offered before, and you're definitely keeping it in a maintenance situation that makes sense for your books. This technique is definitely gonna set you apart in the salon because it's different. You're giving someone an ombre trend, but you're also making them look really put together with the face frame. It's a great combination. We used 3 different techniques to create this. Traditional foil highlight. We used my little teasing highlights to create the little flashes of color through here. And we also did the hand-painted balayage just to create extra dimension and little flicks of light. This is absolutely gonna be a major moneymaker in the salon because it's so subtle. It looks fantastic on totally different clients, and it was pretty quick as well. Think of this hair color as Ombre 2.0. You've got the beautiful light to dark on the bottom, but we made it really modern by adding the face framing highlights. She looks really put together, not too trendy, but definitely on trend. Let's take this cape off, show you the full result. You look so good. Really fresh, really modern. What a great way to wear this trend. She just looks put together, and I just love it. I really think it's beautiful. I can't wait for you to try this color on your next client. Even one of the tips will definitely make you more money. For more inspiration, check out the Balayage Education Network.